Welcome to Forza Horizon Origins. Inspired by Ruffle Waffle's brilliant Gran Turismo Origin series, this is the beginning of my personal retrospective into the Forza Horizon series of open-world racing games. With Forza Horizon 6 right around the corner, and this series being one of my all-time favourites, I'll be replaying each of these titles and taking a deep dive into every entry in the series. Our goal is to answer several key questions. What impact did each Forza Horizon game have? How did the series develop over time? How did Forza Horizon go from being a spin-off into the flagship series of the Forza franchise, and most importantly, which game is the best? Forza Horizon shook up the open-world racing game genre more than you might realise. From maps to menus, handling to car selection, game design to progression, and much more besides, we'll be covering every aspect of this series in an effort to understand each of these games from the ground up. On top of that, we'll be looking at both how these games are viewed today and how they were received at their time of release. Over the years, the general consensus on some of these games has shifted wildly, so it'll be intriguing to see how public opinion has changed over time. We're putting aside all semblance of bias, preference, and nostalgia to analyse these games for what they truly are. What did each game do well, and what did they do badly? What trends can we find as the series progresses? How did we go from this all the way to this, and how did all of it shape Forza Horizon into one of the biggest racing game franchises in the world? Today, we're kicking off with the spin-off that started it all, the original Forza Horizon. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos in this series and much more besides. And if you want to catch me live on Twitch, drop me a follow at twitch.tv/Bafo663. Let's dive in. Before we get into the origins of Forza Horizon, it makes sense to go back and look at the series it spun off from, Forza Motorsport. In the early 2000s, Microsoft was preparing to enter the console gaming market with the original Xbox. With the Gran Turismo series selling tens of millions of copies across both the PS1 and PS2, it was clear that the Xbox needed its own flagship simulation racing series. Turn 10 Studios was formed to take on this challenge, and after several years of development, they released their first title, 2005's Forza Motorsport. The game sold over 1 million copies and was warmly received by critics and players alike, spurning multiple sequels and establishing Forza as the Green brand's leading racing game series. By 2010, things were looking good. Polyphony were taking their sweet time with Gran Turismo 5, and Turn 10 were working towards what many would consider to be the best game in the series, Forza Motorsport 4. Away from these dedicated circuit racers, however, the video game industry was changing. At the time, large-scale open-world games were everything. World of Warcraft was hitting its peak in popularity, Red Dead Redemption would firmly establish Rockstar as the kings of open-world action-adventure games, and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was right around the corner. Even the biggest racing game series were getting in on the trend. EA were about to release their Need for Speed World MMO, and Criterion had shifted from 2008's critically acclaimed open-world racer Burnout Paradise to develop Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and the subsequent Need for Speed Most Wanted reboot. It was clear that, perhaps now more than ever, video games were growing in size and scope, and players had higher and higher expectations for the next entries in their favourite series. Turn 10 knew this, and whether it was fate, luck, or extremely good fortune, a huge opportunity was about to fall straight into their hands. In 2009, a man by the name of Gavin Rayburn, who'd headed up racing game series such as Toka Race Driver, Colin McRae's Dirt, and Race Driver Grid, ended his 24-year tenure at Codemasters. Inspired by the open-world environment of 2006's Test Drive Unlimited, Gavin dreamed of creating a reboot of the much-loved Project Gotham racing series, and, believing that Codemasters wouldn't have the resources to fulfill his vision, he gathered a who's who of racing game developer talent, and founded his own studio to do it, Playground Games. At the same time, Turn 10 had started to look for a studio that they could partner with, one that could expand the Forza franchise into the open world and appeal to a broader audience whilst they continued to work on the mainline Forza Motorsport titles. At E3 2010, Gavin met with Turn 10, reworking his idea for the Project Gotham racing reboot into a concept for an open world Forza title. Turn 10 liked what they saw and agreed to offer their support and expertise to help Playground Games turn that concept into reality. The goal of this game was simple. Take the DNA of Forza Motorsport, the physics, the handling, the user creation tools, the online multiplayer and more, and bring it to a fresh, exciting and appealing open world environment. The task was set, but with it came the first big question: where exactly should the game be set? After scouting out almost 30 real-world locations, one place had it all, from rocky mountains, deep valleys and arid plains, to lush forests, great rivers and vast canyons. This place would give Playground Games the perfect opportunity to flex their muscles and give players a rich, exciting and varied environment to explore. That place was the US state of Colorado. Now, Playground Games could have simply gone to Google Images, found images of the state and created an imitation of the area, but for them that was nowhere near good enough. In an effort to really capture the essence of the region, the team headed to Colorado to produce reams of original reference material, including hundreds of hours of video and 50,000 still photos to help bring their open world to life. After 2 years of early mornings, late nights and a whole lot of coffee, the first open world Forza title was ready. It just needed a name. Now, Forza is an Italian word that's a shout of passion and encouragement. Think Forza Ferrari or, of course, Forza Motorsport, but what could go along with it? Playground Games had created this game as a new dawn for the Forza franchise, bringing it into a bold, expansive and exciting new age. This much-loved racing series was crossing new horizons, so only one name felt right: Forza Horizon. After months of teasers, the game was officially revealed at E3 2012, and the initial reaction was mixed. Whilst casual fans were genuinely excited for an open-world Forza title, many hardcore players felt that this spin-off was a betrayal to Forza's serious simulator roots, comparing it unfavourably to Need for Speed and fearing that Forza was heading in a similar direction. Whichever side of the fence you were on, anticipation was building fast, and although the game was the product of years of Gavin Rayburn's vision, ambition and determination, after almost 3 years of extensive development, it was a big question mark whether the game would be a success on launch. But what happened next blew everyone's expectations out of the water. Forza Horizon debuted in October 2012 and instantly shook up the racing game world. With high-fidelity graphics, a huge list of fully licensed cars, a captivating open world, a rewarding driving experience and more, Forza Horizon took the DNA of the Forza Motorsport series and took it in a totally new direction. So, let's jump into the game and see what it's all about. Before you've even pressed the start button, the game hits you with a sunrise over a rocky landscape, before panning back to show the game's cover car, the 2013 SRT Viper GTS. With Porter Robinson's song Language kicking into gear, you see more glossy cars in some of the game's most iconic locations. The searing summer sun, a vast open world, a selection of exciting vehicles, and a kick-ass soundtrack to boot. You know you're in for a good time. Now, I'm going to describe beat for beat the first few minutes of the game. This might seem strange, but you'll see why in a moment. Entering single player, you're hit with a short video with real-world footage of vast open roads, car meets and large festivals, all quick cut to the Soulwax remix of Hey Boy Hey Girl by the Chemical Brothers. We load in to see a sunrise over a Colorado highway, a deer shooting off into the distance, and the camera slowly revealing the cover car Viper driving at speed, with Netsky's VIP remix of Everyday by Rusko in the background. One of the game's radio DJs introduces the first few story beats. The Horizon Festival begins today, and the reigning champion Darius Flint is expected to arrive, and just as he says it, Darius's Ferrari 599XX comes roaring past us, and the first race is on. After racing him down the highway, we cut to our player character and see a flurry of more obtainable vehicles, like a Supra, an Evo and a Ford Focus. The Horizon CEO, Alice Hart, comes over the radio to say that there's 10 spots in the Horizon Championship heats up for grabs to the next 10 drivers to arrive at the festival. As the other cars in the parking lot race away, we hop into our 1995 VW Corrado VR6 to try and beat them. As DJ Fresh and Dizzee Rascal's The Power blasts over the radio, we're racing towards the festival, the radio DJ counting down each place remaining as a driver makes it. A biplane flies by overhead, and other racers start to fill the road from all angles, Lambos, roofs, Corvettes and more, all vying to secure one of those coveted spots. We reach the festival, Alice Hart welcomes us, and we get an in-engine sizzle reel of the festival grounds set to Skrillex's remix of Avicii's Levels. We pull into the garage to see our race engineer Dak for the first time. He signs off on our car, we see the world map, set our GPS to go to the heats, and enter the open world for the first time, with our radio now able to access all 3 stations. Now, you don't need me to tell you that that's one hell of an introduction. From the music to the visuals, the gameplay sections to the story beats and the cutscenes to the pacing, it's a nigh-on perfect introduction to the world of Horizon. We get a taste of the late game with the cover car, we learn that Horizon is an established festival and we're the latest to try our luck, and we're given immediate stakes in racing our way to the festival itself. The roar of the plane is totally unexpected and makes you wonder what part they could play in the game. The cars shown range from high-end to accessible. The characters all have big personalities, from the DJ's enthusiasm to Alistair's calm confidence and Dak's dry wit, and the main antagonist is seen but not heard. These opening few minutes are a sheer masterclass in what a game introduction should be. It gets you amped up, it sets your expectations from the off, and it gives you both story and gameplay hooks that make you want more, and that's far harder to do than you might think. Our perception of these games is largely formed in these first few moments, and Forza Horizon does a fantastic job of not just differentiating itself from the mainline Forza Motorsport series, but putting itself across as something that's fun, unserious, and totally different to anything else out there. I'd be so bold as to say that very few games out there had a better opening salvo, and in the racing game genre especially, there was nothing that came anywhere close to the first Forza Horizon in this respect. Now, that's all well and good, but what really matters is what happens when we hit the road. Let's dive into this game's biggest selling point, its open world. Forza Horizon spans an area of roughly 50 square miles, with 216 total roads to drive on. Right at the heart of the map are the Horizon Festival Grounds, a sprawling area covering several square miles that serves as your central hub, with the inner circle including your garage, car shop, paint shop, and more. The first thing that strikes you is just how busy it feels. The roaring crowds behind the barriers, the light bulb flashes popping off, the flags and tents at every turn, the fairground rides, the glimpses of huge stages, and distant sounds coming from them. You truly feel like you're at the centre of a massive festival. The inclusion of real-world brands on banners, ad boards, and as event sponsors adds an air of authenticity as well, almost as if you could mistake Horizon for being a real festival. In fact, the developers were so keen to get the festival atmosphere right that they turned to Rob da Bank, a BBC Radio 1 DJ and founder of the indie dance and electronic music festival Bestival, to ensure that they got it right, and boy did they deliver. It's truly spectacular. Away from the festival grounds, you'll find a rich variety of regions, each with their own unique feel. From the searing heat and twisting roads of Red Rock and the small town feel of Carson, to the lush forests of Gladstone, the mountain towns of the Rockies, the sweeping roads of Kettle Hills, and much more, each area of the game has its own distinct visual identity. It's the details that really impress here. The wind turbines on the plains, the sprinklers in the gardens of houses in arid environments, the geysers shooting up water in clear springs. Playground Games went to great lengths to make the world both look and feel alive, and it adds a lot to the game's sense of immersion. Adding to this is the game's day and night cycle, a first for the Forza series. Now, as a game that's set in the Colorado summer, you expect the game to make the most of its sunrises and sunsets, and Forza Horizon delivers with golden sunlight that drapes across the world in a way that, for 2012, was really quite beautiful. The rising and setting of the sun also unveils another first in Forza, dynamic shadows. Trees, fences, cliffs, they all cast shadows that shift as the sun moves across the sky. Now, these are far from perfect, but once again, for a game that came out in 2012, they are both technically impressive and better looking than you might remember. At midday, the yellow sunlight gives way to a whiter light, which provides a cleaner and more modern look, whilst at night, the game shows off both its best and its worst visual experiences. On the one hand, early in the game you have to drive from Red Rock back to the festival grounds. What starts off as a late afternoon drive, with a sun setting behind desert cliffs, pink skies and picturesque snowy mountains in the distance, gives way to a full moon, streetlights and the warm glow of your headlamps. As you approach the Horizon Festival, you see fireworks, skylights and stage pyro paint the night sky, floodlights lighting the way at every turn, and all the sounds you'd expect from a festival in full gear. It's a gorgeous set piece that is as spectacular today as it was on release 14 years ago, and really shows the spectacle of Forza Horizon at its very best. On the other hand, night races that take place away from built-up areas expose the deficiencies of the game's lighting system. Every time you approach an opponent, your headlights give their car paint a flat, almost cel-shaded look that really breaks the immersion. As bad as this looks, the fact that this is one of the only major visual flaws I can pick out demonstrates just how well the game delivers on its open-world environment. One criticism I've seen a lot of this game is that it looks overly yellow, especially at sunrise and sunset, a trait that many racing games of the mid-2000s to early 2010s seem to have. It's certainly an aesthetic choice, but looking at it with modern eyes, especially with many games today feeling unsaturated and quite dull, I don't think it was too over the top, and I actually think that given the game's festival setting, the warmth it adds fits in rather well. Forza Horizon also lacks any weather effects, but given the attention to detail across the entirety of the open world, coupled with the Colorado summer setting, I don't feel that the lack of weather harms the game all that much. A bigger source of criticism at the time was the limitations of the open world. Whilst there is a vast amount of both tarmac and dirt roads to drive on, there's very little opportunity to go truly off-road, with only minor shortcuts and alternative routes available to you, and guardrails preventing further exploration. The only memorable area of the map you can really explore in this fashion is the golf course, and anyone that's driven across it will tell you that it feels like an afterthought, as your car flips over on its back way too easily. These open world environments would go through a lot of improvement in future Forza Horizon games, and arguably become one of the series' biggest strengths, so it's interesting to see its rather humble beginnings in this first entry. To navigate the open world, you'll need the world map, and that brings us neatly on to the UI. Forza Horizon's UI puts clarity above everything else, with bold text, bright colours and simple shapes, accented with distressed textures and easily digestible visual cues. It's very edgy, it's very 2010s, and it's very evocative of the game's festival setting. The world map shows races, speed cameras, discount signs, outposts, street racing locations, barn finds and much more, but it never feels overwhelming or difficult to understand, and it's a fairly underappreciated part of the game's overall design. In the open world, all you have is your speedo in the bottom right and your minimap in the bottom left. Any skills you perform appear in the upper middle, and any sponsor challenges appear at the bottom of the screen. It's all minimal in nature and keeps your eyes on the road ahead of you rather than on the UI itself. Menus, events and races all tie in with the festival theme, with festival wristbands, gig tickets, film reels and more. None of the game's UI feels out of place or like it doesn't belong. It's all pulling in the same direction, in line with the festival theme whilst keeping focus on the action. Alongside visual cues, the game makes great use of audio to give you additional context. Whether it's the in-game GPS telling you when to turn, or the radio DJ talking about the latest storyline developments, interviewing your current rival, or hinting at things you can find in the open world, the audio assistant ties in with the UI to both keep you on track and pique your curiosity. Like with the open world, there's a number of little details in the UI that make the game experience that little more enjoyable. When you close in on your GPS destination, you get a useful distance countdown near the center of the screen. When you're blasting down a highway at 200 miles an hour, this can prove very useful. As you explore the open world, the roads turn from grey to white, not just on your minimap, but on the world map too, and this can really help you discover every road and get to 100% map completion. The open world and the UI may be very well designed, but what about the graphics in general? On the graphical front, Forza Horizon released at a very interesting time. Gran Turismo 5 had released 2 years prior, Forza Motorsport 4 released 1 year prior, and Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 would arrive just 1 week after Horizon's release. Each of these games received particular praise for their graphics in different areas, GT5 for its car models, FM4 for its tracks, and Most Wanted 2012 for its damage model. And whilst it's debatable whether Forza Horizon can truly match these games in each of these respective areas, when you look at them as a complete package, Forza Horizon can certainly stand shoulder to shoulder alongside them. When it comes to car models, each car is a reasonably faithful recreation of its real-life counterpart. Reflections look particularly good, with the sun, sky and clouds above glinting off your car in the day and your lights presenting a fairly accurate glow and dispersal at night, with the glowing brake rotors standing out particularly well when it's dark. Driver animations are fairly rudimentary, just moving your arms in line with wheel inputs and gear changes, but it's nice to see separate animations for both stick shift and flappy paddle cars, and it's great to see each individual cockpit interior modelled out. What Forza Horizon does particularly well is its vehicle damage. Collisions impart bumps, scratches and dents on your car where you would expect them to be, and the game can be surprisingly realistic in this area. For example, a left side collision will only break your left side windows, even if these effects are just cosmetic only. It's not quite as good as Most Wanted 2012, and it's nowhere near perfect by modern standards, but it adds a level of depth and immersion that you'd expect to see, especially considering the much-loved damage model of the Forza Motorsport games. We've already touched on some of Forza Horizon's most notable graphical elements, the sunsets, fireworks, skylights, and more, but it's worth saying again just how much of a pleasure it is to explore, drive, and race around this open world. Adding to this, both tyre smoke and tyre marks are well replicated. The dust that kicks up in off-road races is awesome to see, and the destructible elements of the environment, as few of them as there are, such as cones, road signs, and sponsor boards, add yet more cherries onto the visual cake. One of the best ways to enjoy the game's graphical flair is with the photo mode. This allows you to take pictures of your car and the environment around you, and it has a surprising amount of filters, camera options, and modes to dive into. Closely tied to this is the game's race replay mode, and whilst it doesn't have the same level of flair as some of its competitors, particularly in the default replay camera setting, it can give you some great shots, something which I'm sure edit makers on YouTube had a field day with at the time. Despite all of that, there is an elephant in the room that we need to address. On its original Xbox 360 hardware, Forza Horizon only runs at 30 FPS at 720p. That is the same as Most Wanted 2012 on console, but with both Forza Motorsport 4 and Gran Turismo 5 running at 60 FPS and having released before both of them, it is very much noticeable, and it saw the game receive its fair share of criticism at the time. Today, the physical 360 disc is thankfully backwards compatible with modern Xbox hardware, and inserting it downloads a patch that makes the game run natively at 4K resolution. However, it is still locked at 30 frames per second. The FPS of the Forza Horizon series on console will continue to be one of its most consistent bugbears, but for now, seeing as we've just talked about race replays, let's dive into the heart of this game, the content. On release, Forza Horizon included 143 cars in the base game. Now, that doesn't seem all that much compared to the 500 of Forza Motorsport 4 and the 1,000 plus vehicles of Gran Turismo 5, but with Most Wanted 2012 including just 41 base cars, it doesn't seem all that bad. Something that works in Forza Horizon's favour is the sheer variety of vehicles in that list. Rather than including several variants of the same base model, each car is, for the most part, a totally unique vehicle. With a whopping 57 manufacturers represented, including the likes of Ferrari, which you couldn't find anywhere else, and the game spanning vehicles from the 1950s all the way to 2013, you'd be hard-pressed to find any big hitters that are missing. With 75 additional vehicles added as DLC post-launch, there's plenty of variety, no matter what sort of vehicles you like. Each car in the game has a wide array of cosmetic and performance tuning options. On the cosmetic front, you've got your usual hitters: front and rear bumpers, rear wings, side skirts, rims, all the basic customization options you'd expect. Each part comes from either a real tuning company or is a creation of the Forza team, and each one has a mild impact on the car's performance. Where Forza Horizon excels on the customization front is with the paint shop. Here, you can add multiple layers of vinyls and decals, save and load vinyl groups to create more in-depth designs, and even import vinyl groups from Forza Motorsport 4. It's a pretty in-depth system, and if you're the sort of person that enjoys designing liveries, you've got everything you need to create pretty much anything you'd like. If you love liveries but don't want to make them, as with FM4, you could scour the design storefront and purchase liveries others had made to apply to your own cars. This level of customization has always been one of the high points of the Forza series as a whole, and Forza Horizon kicked off strongly in this regard as well. On the performance side, there's again a lot of options. From air filters to camshafts, anti-roll bars to diffs, intercoolers to flywheels, there's a lot of individual upgrades to explore. One aspect that stands out here is the ability to add rally parts to the large majority of cars in the game, either optimizing them for dirt races or for Horizon Rally, which we'll get onto later. Amongst these performance upgrades are the engine swaps, giving many of the game's vehicles a whole new lease of life. The possibilities are endless, and there's a wide array of wacky combinations just waiting to be discovered. Despite this, the depth of the performance upgrade system is dampened by several factors. The first of these is the auto upgrade system. Races in Forza Horizon are typically restricted to a specific drivetrain and car class combo, with classes ranging from E at the lowest to R1 at the highest. Because of this, you'll often have a car that has an eligible drivetrain, but is too high or too low in class to enter or be competitive. No matter, select your desired car anyway, and the game will offer either an automatic up-tune or down-tune so you can join. Given the game's AI and handling, which we'll get onto, these auto-tunes are often more than good enough to grab an easy win, rendering the custom upgrade path kind of pointless. Furthermore, one aspect of Forza Motorsport that wasn't carried over to Forza Horizon was tyre wear. Given the game's more approachable nature though, I'll give this one a pass. A bigger absence I can't ignore though is the lack of tuning options, bar the ability to disable assists such as ABS and TCS. Given every game in the Forza series, both before and after, features detailed tuning options, it's quite surprising to see them absent here, and the game does lose some of its Forza DNA because of it. Since we're talking about car upgrades, let's discuss one area that they influence: the audio. The way your car sounds is directly influenced by its upgrades. To demonstrate this, here's my Nissan Skyline R34 GTR. First, let's hear the stock version. Okay, not bad. Now let's hear a fully upgraded version. Wow, now that's an engine sound. Generally speaking, the game's soundscape is very well put together. Engine notes, shifts, and afterfires are rich, full, and emotive. Tyre squeals, collisions, and wind sounds are well balanced without muddying the mix, and the surround sound environment really amps up the immersion. Add to this the sounds of cheering crowds, exploding fireworks, skill combos, and your radio, and despite all of these different elements layered over one another, you've got a very satisfying experience for the ears. Each car has a unique sound profile, and while some may sound similar due to having shared engines, it's not too difficult to distinguish one car from another in its stock form. After modifications, however, some cars do start to sound more similar to each other, but by this point in the game, you're likely to be putting all of your focus into beating the end game events. One detail I particularly enjoy are the engine sounds in tunnels. Now, this isn't the best in-tunnel audio you've ever heard, but it's still good enough for me to turn my radio off and enjoy the raw sounds when I get the chance. As you've just heard, the engine notes get crisper and boomier, and you get a resonant echo that builds the body of the sound into something that's a bit special. It's wonderful to experience. A large part of your emotional experience with a video game is defined by its sound design, and a big part of that in Forza Horizon is the soundtrack. The game's music was curated by Rob da Bank, with 3 radio stations to choose from: Horizon Bass Arena for EDM and dance, Horizon Pulse for electronica and indie, and Horizon Rocks for rock and alternative, totaling 67 individual songs. Utilising Rob da Bank's expertise here has really paid off, as each station has a unique aura and feel, boosted by each one having a unique DJ that keeps the energy high and the beats flowing. Whilst these genres may or may not be to your liking, there's no denying that the songs chosen are a really great fit for the game, full of fun, excitement, and feel-good emotions that add a great deal to the game as a whole. Moving on to tracks, Forza Horizon features dozens of unique circuits, all using parts of the open world. Festival events and showcases are held on closed sections of road, with barriers, fans, and the whole festival spectacle to boot, whilst street races, challenge races, showcases, and PR events all take place spontaneously, with the added challenge of navigating through AI traffic, giving these races a much more raw feel. The courses are generally well designed and span every area of the map, with the variety of roads available meaning you get everything from tight and twisty mountain circuits, perfect for smaller cars, to cross-map highway romps, ideal for higher class machines. In both cases, very few tracks are reused across the game, and those that are reused typically have a large enough gap between their appearances to the point that you don't really notice it. Since we're discussing the variety of tracks, let's talk about the AI. On the whole, these AI are pretty decent, but quite often they'll make simple errors that mean you can easily beat them, even at the highest difficulties. These range from sticking religiously to the road and avoiding obvious shortcuts, to slowing down if they're about to run into the back of you instead of driving around you. Now, this appears to be track dependent. Indeed, the AI is really on the ball in some of the late game races, taking the racing line, responding to where you are on track, and doing a great job of carrying speed, but generally speaking, it isn't too difficult to beat most races in the game at the first time of asking. The one exception to this is with twisty circuit races with lots of low-speed corners. For whatever reason, the AI is very good at driving on the edge of these tracks. These types of races were the only time in my playthroughs that I had to lower my difficulty to take first place, although by doing so, these races became ridiculously easy. In spite of this, it's actually pretty easy to cheese the AI and take advantage of the game's limitations. As all vehicle damage is cosmetic and there's no penalties to speak of, there's nothing stopping you from using other cars as your brakes. And as contact with walls therefore only impacts your speed, it can sometimes be quicker to wall ride than to take corners properly. Speaking of brakes, if you're side by side with an AI on a straight, pushing them towards a wall will eventually cause them to brake, giving you an easy pass. And as there's very little, if any, rubber banding to speak of, once you're in front, you'll have little challenge from behind. Away from the race events, you'll also find the AI roaming the open world. Now, quite often in open world racing games up to this point, you'd have AI that aimlessly roam the map waiting for you to challenge them, and that's about it. Forza Horizon takes this to another level. Not only do all of these roaming AI drivers have names, but you'll often see them racing in packs across the map, seemingly competing in races that you're not a part of. This might seem small, but it plays a huge part in making the game's festival feel like a real competitive event, rather than something that's set up for your personal path to glory. These other drivers aren't just set dressing, they look like they're competing like you are, to build their popularity, gain new fans, win races and become the champion of the Horizon Festival, and that's really cool to see. As an interesting side note, Forza Horizon is the only game in the Forza franchise to date not to use their infamous drivatar AI system, where AI opponents learn and adapt based on your driving, at least not by name. Although we never got an official reason for this, the most likely explanation is that Forza Motorsport 5, which would release 1 year after Forza Horizon, saw a major update to drivatar AI, moving from on-system processing to much more powerful cloud-based processing. Turn 10 probably didn't want Playground Games to debut its unfinished new system in a spin-off game, and at the same time, they probably didn't want Forza Horizon to make a lot of noise about using the old drivatar system either. This is an inconsequential little factoid, but I find these small details about how the games we enjoy came into being absolutely fascinating. One of the most anticipated aspects of Forza Horizon was its handling model. Prior to the game's release, head of Turn 10 Studios Dan Greenewalt said multiple times in interviews that Forza Horizon would have a great deal of Forza DNA running through it, and that included the handling model and physics engine. Indeed, on at least one occasion, he's quoted as saying that Horizon will have the same feel as Forza, and that they weren't tempted to change the handling model to appeal to a wider audience with this spin-off. Because of that, existing Forza players went into Horizon expecting more of the same Forza handling they were used to, but there's no other way of putting it, the handling simply isn't the same. Now, by default, Forza Horizon begins with a lot of assists turned on. Anti-lock braking, traction control, guiding arrows on the ground, the works, and you may think that by turning these off, you'll get more of an authentic Forza experience. Indeed, Dan had said in interviews that by doing this, you could drive the Forza you love. But again, turning all of these assists off won't give you that raw driving experience that the Forza series was known for. That's not to say that the handling model is bad, it's just that it's different and not what a lot of players were expecting. The best way to describe it is Forza Light. Being built on the same physics engine as Forza Motorsport 4, it naturally has the same building blocks, but from this shared starting point, it heads in a different direction, more towards being approachable and fun than precise and realistic. I wouldn't call it an arcade handling model, it is still based enough in reality to avoid that description, but it's clearly got a pick up and play aspect to it that helps players immediately have fun. Where this manifests the most is in cornering, and more specifically, drifting. Now, drifts are a key part of the game's skill system, being a cornerstone of your combos that help you rise the ranks of the popularity system. Because of this, they had to be both fun for the player to execute and be easy to do, and Forza Horizon succeeds on both of these fronts. The best way to describe how it feels is Burnout-esque, a short tap of the brakes or e-brake with a lot of steering input and your tyres are smoking. It is undoubtedly very fun to do and quite controllable, but it probably wasn't what experienced Forza players were expecting. Drifting might be fun and easy to do, but it's not the quickest way to drive. Once you spend time with the handling model, you'll find that you can drive on the edge of traction and carry speed through corners to get faster, it just requires a slightly different approach than you might be used to. It's not quite as precise as in Forza Motorsport, and you might find it tricky to hit the apex on corner entry at first, but it is very satisfying once you get it right. Vehicle weight, drivetrain configurations, and engine torque all have a noticeable impact on the handling. The slidey nature of the handling means that four-wheel drive vehicles inherently have better grip and therefore feel much smoother to control. In general, you'll want to opt for power over handling where possible, as cars that you'd expect to handle well, such as the Lotus Exige, are rather limited by the game's inherent handling model, whilst more acceleration and speed is an outright advantage in pretty much every situation. If you want a real challenge, take a high-powered rear-wheel drive car, turn all the assists off, and see how long you last. One interesting note here is that it's quite clear that Playground Games haven't optimized the handling model and physics engine to handle situations that are quite likely to occur during gameplay. For example, going up on two wheels or navigating especially rough or bumpy terrain, such as around the golf course, looks and feels super strange, and should you enter a barrel roll and land on your roof, you'll discover your car skids across the ground in a rather odd and unrealistic fashion. Now, all of these components create a solid platform, but the campaign and the story that brings them all together is where the real magic happens. A lot of the focus of both reviews at the time and modern retrospectives of the Forza Horizon games is on the progression, for better or worse, but it's often discussed on just a surface level, rather than a proper deep dive. I want to rectify that. If a racing game doesn't have a good career mode, it's simply not a good racing game to me, which is why I've gone back and replayed each of the Forza Horizon titles from start to finish to gain a complete understanding of what makes them good, what makes them bad, how they compare to one another, and fundamentally, whether or not they're fun to play. Being the first open-world Forza title, Playground Games had a blank canvas when it came to figuring out how the player would progress through Forza Horizon. What they came up with drew clear inspiration from existing open-world games, but they took these concepts in a whole new direction. The basic premise is that you arrive at the Horizon Festival as an unknown driver. By winning races and displaying skillful driving, you earn wristbands and increase your popularity. With each new wristband you acquire, you face new rivals, drive in tougher races, and acquire faster cars. Once you've earned the final wristband and become the #1 most popular driver, you can compete in the final event and defeat your final rival to beat the game. Now, that doesn't sound all that different from what was already out there at the time. Mixing RPG elements with a racing game had been done plenty of times before. Take the aforementioned Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsport and Need for Speed series as examples, but it's the specifics of how Forza Horizon does it, plus all the added extras thrown in, that sets it apart from the rest. After the tutorial, you jump right into your starter car, a 1995 Volkswagen Corrado VR6. That's right, you don't get a choice, this is the car you're forced to start with. You start off with 500 credits, and earn more primarily by taking part in race events. The amount of credits you earn is decided by your finishing position, the distance you drive, and any special conditions, such as finishing ahead of a rival. This total is then multiplied by a percentage, which is decided by how many assists you've used. The less assists you use, the higher that percentage multiplier, and the more credits you earn. Whilst the credit multiplier is a novel idea, it has the unwanted side effect of being one of many ways that you can totally break the game's economy. In your very first race, by turning off a modest amount of assists and winning the race, which is pretty straightforward, you jump from 500 credits to around 5.5k, enough to buy an E-Class car. Straight after, you're encouraged to enter a showcase event, a big 1 vs 1 spectacle pitting a car against a plane. If you win that race, and they're pretty much scripted so it's impossible not to, you win a Mustang. After heading back to the festival, Horizon stumps up the cash for you to acquire yet another car for free. In less than an hour, we have a minimum of 3 cars, plus enough credits to buy another one if we wanted. That's a pretty rapid start, and the game only gets more generous from there. Beat a rival, win a car. Complete a showcase event, win a car. Discover a barn find, another free car. Across the game, there's 29 individual cars you can win as prizes. It's not like you have to go out of your way to get them either, most of these you'll acquire through normal gameplay. These prize cars won't just collect dust in your garage either. Many of them are either the best vehicle you have available to you for long stretches of the game, such as the second barn find, the Bugatti EB110, or fulfill niche requirements to enter specific events. What's really game-breaking is that 3 of these prize cars don't reward specific vehicles. By winning all of the street races in one location, you get to spin a prize car roulette wheel. In my most recent playthrough, the 3rd of these spins awarded me with the Ferrari 599XX, the same car used by Darius Flint, the game's final rival. Now, all of these prize cars wouldn't be so bad if credits were hard to come by, but as we've already alluded to, this simply isn't the case. Not only do races reward you with large amounts of credits, but by simply playing the game, you'll be completing sponsor challenges, gathering extra credit rewards as you rack up drifts, near misses, airtime, and more. If that wasn't enough, on top of being able to earn credits very quickly, the game gives you multiple ways to make things cheaper. If you want to fast travel to an outpost on the map, it'll cost you 10,000 credits, unless you complete 3 quick PR stunts at that outpost, at which point you can fast travel there for free. Also across the map are 100 discount signs. Each one you break gives you a 1% discount on vehicle upgrades for every car. There's nothing stopping you from doing this right at the start of the game, but even if you break these as you encounter them normally, these discounts soon become pretty sizable. As all paints and vinyls are completely free, you can quickly find yourself in a situation where you can fully upgrade and customize any new vehicle you acquire for little to no cost. By the end of my most recent playthrough, my garage had a total of 47 cars, and I'd only purchased 14 of them from the auto show. Most of these purchases were towards the end of the game to complete races with specific entry requirements, and at no point did I ever feel there was a car I needed that I couldn't buy. Hell, I entered the final race with 2.7 million credits, enough to purchase almost any car in the game, and that was after spending 1.7 million credits on a Zonda R just to do the final race with. As you can probably tell, the economy in Forza Horizon feels like a bit of an afterthought. It doesn't really present any challenge to the player, and that feels like it's by design. On a side note, the game gave you a way to purchase cars with Microsoft points using their token system, but as the game showers you with credits anyway, unless you were incredibly impatient, there was really no need to ever do so. While some might view the generous economy as a positive, I feel it has the side effect of making each car in the game feel less meaningful. Why should I care about my VW Corrado starter car when I've got several better cars in just a few hours? Why should I care about vehicle upgrades when I can max out any new car I get straight away? Why should I care about Darius's 599XX when not only did the game reward me with one for free before the end of the game, but I could have just bought one from the auto show before the final race if I wanted to? For all the rich variety of cars in Forza Horizon, it's hard to build a connection with any of them when acquiring them feels this trivial. Anyways, despite Forza Horizon's open world nature and the freedom that it offers, at its core, the game has a fairly linear structure. Completing race events rewards you with points. Earn enough points and you're rewarded with a wristband. There's 7 wristbands for you to acquire: yellow, green, blue, pink, orange, purple and gold, with the races you complete after acquiring the gold wristband helping you to qualify for the final event in the game, the Horizon Final. In the early game, race events will mostly be fully open. In other words, you can enter a B-class race with any B-class car. As you progress through the game, you'll find some race events get very specific. For example, using a US muscle car from a certain time period, using a car below a certain stock performance index, or only using cars from a certain brand. This helps to mix things up, and ensures that you'll need a stacked garage with cars that cover all sorts of drivetrains, classes, brands, eras, and more. It's a clever way to get you to experience a large amount of cars, and discover the differences in various drivetrains and power levels whilst giving every car a purpose, no matter its performance. This also helps ensure that no 2 playthroughs will ever be the same, as there's always a choice of vehicles you can use for each event, and a car you purchase early could lead to a very different purchase path later on. Each wristband tier sees you encounter a unique rival that will compete against you in your race events. All of these rivals are big, boisterous characters that are full of personality, which fits the festival atmosphere perfectly. Not only will you hear from them before races, you'll also hear them giving interviews over the radio and talking about your progress through the game, which is a neat touch. Once you get the points to acquire your next wristband, your rival will challenge you to a Star Showdown, a 1-versus-1 street race where if you win, you earn their car. After acquiring your green wristband, you'll unlock street races. These are underground illegal races that take place on open roads, and with open roads comes AI traffic. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock more street races across 3 different locations. These street races offer much higher rewards than your typical race events, usually at least double the amount of credits, and as we've mentioned, completing all the races at each location gives you a spin of the prize car roulette wheel. Amusingly, the game's radio takes aim at whether these street races really are illegal, since you never see any cops. Given the presence of cops in open-world street racing series such as Need for Speed, this was a fairly humorous way to get ahead of any criticism of their absence. It's not something we see developers do too often nowadays, and I kind of miss it. Away from these linear events, there's plenty more on offer. You start the game as the least popular driver at the Horizon Festival, 250th of 250. Performing driving skills, drifts, near misses, overtakes and the like increases your popularity, and every 25 spots you gain, you unlock a showcase event. These are big spectacles that see you race in specific cars against everything from planes and helicopters to hot air balloons and classic minis. They're like Top Gear challenges come to life, and provide some of the best race experiences that Forza Horizon has to offer, and as we mentioned earlier, each time you win a showcase event, you're rewarded with the car you used. Dotted across the map are 10 outposts. These are fast travel locations that also allow you to paint, upgrade or change your car on the fly. As we've mentioned, travelling here requires a 10,000 credit fee unless you complete the 3 PR stunts at that location. Each outpost has 3 events: a speed stunt, where you need to hit a speed trap at a minimum speed, a photo shoot, where you need to drive a vehicle to a location taking as little damage as possible to take a photo, and a skill stunt, where you need to hit a set skill point target within a time limit. As each of these events is done in a set car, it's a great way for you to get behind the wheel of cars you might not have the credits for, including some of the most expensive cars in the game. None of these are particularly difficult, but they do help to break up the main progression path with a side quest that feels like it gives you a meaningful benefit. That leaves us with barn finds. These are rundown cars that are scattered across hidden locations on the map. Once you're tipped off about the location of one, you're given an area of the map to search. Once you've found the car, Dak will take it away to restore it, and after some time, he'll call you to pick up your fully restored barn find. Now, there's been a lot of speculation over the years about how exactly you can unlock all of the barn finds in Forza Horizon, and even today, the exact requirements aren't 100% clear. What we do know is that game completion and distance travelled plays a big role, so after completing all of the game's content and travelling 1,500 miles in total, all 9 barn finds should be available to you. Whilst these non-linear events are a lot of fun and help make the most of the open world environment, they're not strictly necessary to complete the game. As the game throws large amounts of credits and free cars at you, you'll rarely feel like you need to do any side events in order to progress. If you're a completionist, you'll have a lot of fun completing all of this side content, but if you want to get to the end of the game as quickly as possible, you can safely ignore it with little penalty for doing so. All in all, there's almost 150 total events across the base game, more than enough to keep you busy for many, many hours. And that's before we've touched one of the game's standout aspects, the multiplayer. Now, doing a retrospective on the multiplayer of Forza Horizon in 2026 is pretty difficult. As the online servers for Forza Horizon 1 and 2 were shut down in August 2023, I'll have to rely on my vague recollections from release, as well as the remnants we can still see in the game today. That being said, it can't be understated just how important the multiplayer aspect of Forza Horizon was on release. Not only could players join online sessions and race against one another, but there were a number of online exclusive game modes. Infected, where one player infects others by crashing into them, Cat and Mouse, where 2 teams try to get their mouse driver to the finish line first, and King, where you aim to hold the golden gamer tag for as long as possible. Each of these modes supported a lobby of up to 8 players, plenty big enough for you and your friends, and took place on closed off but still pretty sizable areas of the map. If you got tired of multiplayer racing, you could chill out in free roam, or even compete to get the fastest speed trap records and circuit times. By racing in multiplayer, you gain XP and level up. Every time you level up, you spin a roulette wheel for a prize. This is often bonus credits, but you could get lucky and score a car. The online features don't stop there. As we mentioned earlier, you could use the design storefront in the paint shop to create, share and acquire liveries designed by other players. With Forza Horizon being part of the Xbox Live ecosystem, there were a number of ways to spend Microsoft points to get an advantage. This included the treasure map, which revealed all discount sign and barn find locations, and popularity spikes, which doubled the points you got from skills. These were pretty poorly received as greed on the developer's part back in the day, and honestly, as the discount sign and barn find locations aren't too difficult to find, and the game is pretty generous on popularity progression, you really wouldn't need either of them. As we're talking about spending real money, let's dive into the game's DLC. Across its lifetime, Forza Horizon would add 10 DLC car packs and 2 gameplay expansions, bringing 75 total vehicles and a duo of game modes to the experience. On top of the $59.99 retail price for the base game, or $79.99 for the collector's edition, the majority of car packs would cost an additional 400 Microsoft points each, or $4.99, whilst the Horizon Rally expansion clocked in at 1,600 Microsoft points, or $19.99. At its worst, you could be looking at $130 for the base game and all of the DLC. Although this could be mitigated somewhat by purchasing the Season Pass that was available on day 1, which included all of the paid car packs and expansions for 4,000 Microsoft points or $49.99, at $110 together with the base game, that's still a hefty outlay. Ever since Forza Motorsport 2, the Forza series had included a wide array of paid DLC, and that would be set to continue with Forza Horizon. Anyway, let's sink our teeth into the 2 biggest items, the 2 gameplay expansions. The first of these is the Rally expansion. Released in December 2012, just 2 months after the game's release, this added the Horizon Rally game mode, 5 rally-focused cars, the ability to add rally upgrades to most vehicles in the game, and a total of 24 rally stages. Now, in spite of all that Forza Horizon offered, one area of the base game which left players wanting more was the off-road experience. In spite of all the different types of off-road surfaces across the open world, many players felt that the game could have done more in this area to make off-roading more exciting. Horizon Rally does exactly that. In Horizon Rally, you're tasked with taking on 7 rallies in order, each featuring 4 completely new stages that take areas of the world map and expand on them to create rally-appropriate environments that are combined with the festival flair of Horizon itself. Each stage sees you tackle roads that feature much more extreme terrain than you'll see in the open world. From massive jumps and ditches to corners with huge camber, narrow tunnels and rocks to avoid, it's simply exhilarating. In fact, some of these stages feel more open and wild than any area in the base game, which makes it a shame that we can't explore any of these stages in free roam. You're not facing these stages alone either, as you've got a trusty co-driver on hand who reads the pace notes. Although these pace notes could have been kept simple, they're surprisingly expressive and detailed for an expansion to an existing game. But despite this, since you still have the minimap on screen, it's debatable how useful these pace notes really are. On top of each individual stage being fun to drive, each individual rally has its own distinct feel too. Although some stages share elements of roads or see you tackle a previous stage in reverse, it never feels too repetitive. The core handling model and physics in Horizon Rally feel the same as the base game, but the made-for-purpose stages make the off-road experience in the expansion feel far better. Generally speaking, Horizon Rally adds a lot to the base game experience, and as it's the first true rallying experience in the Forza franchise as a whole, it's really quite remarkable. The second gameplay expansion was the 1000 Club. Released for free in April 2013, this added car-specific challenges to every car in the game, plus added 2 new cars to boot. These challenges were unique to each car, and could include specific races, skill targets, or PR stunts, totaling over 1,000 new challenges to complete. With the majority of the DLC up to this point being paid for, this free expansion breathed a new lease of life into the game, and gave the player base something new to do, alongside a reason to acquire and drive every single car in the game. To my knowledge, this was the first racing game to do this in a meaningful way, and whilst it's clearly geared towards hardcore players, it was a novel idea to nudge the player into experiencing everything the game had to offer. But anyway, when it comes to playing through Forza Horizon, it's clear that above all, the game had one simple aim: fun. Not realism, not accuracy, not balance, just fun. Playground Games created this gorgeous open world, the exhilarating festival setting, and a plethora of cars and events to enjoy within it, so the best thing for them to do would be to get everything else out of the way and let the players enjoy it. So many of the design decisions in this game aim to remove as much friction as possible. Don't have the car you need for an event? Buy one on the spot. Is your car over or undertuned? Let's auto-tune it right away. Want to explore the entire open world right from the start? Be my guest. The biggest advantage of an open world game is the freedom it can offer. Open world games tap into our innate desire to explore, to discover, and to feel part of something bigger, and the developers wanted the players to experience these feelings in Forza Horizon as much as possible. It doesn't matter if the player can make all performance upgrades free in the early game. It doesn't matter if barn finds break the game's economy. It doesn't matter if players are showered with credits and free cars. As long as the players feel immersed in the open world, feel that they're a part of the festival atmosphere, feel a meaningful sense of progression, and feel that they have the tools at their disposal to enjoy everything Forza Horizon has to offer, it's done its job. Turn 10 gave Playground Games a goal: take the DNA of Forza Motorsport and bring it to a fresh, exciting and appealing open world environment, and they blew it out of the park. The fact that they developed a game this good in just 2 years is nothing short of incredible. Forza Horizon delivers pure, exhilarating fun that you couldn't find anywhere else at the time, and its success made it the genesis of one of the biggest racing game franchises in the world today. The impact that Forza Horizon had when it was released was immense. From the moment it went on sale on October 23, 2012, it was a smash hit, going on to sell over 2 million copies. It was so well received that Turn 10 almost immediately greenlit a sequel, with Playground Games challenged to publish a new Forza Horizon title every 2 years, as like Forza Motorsport. With this success, Forza was now unquestionably one of the leading names not just in Xbox racing games, but on the Xbox platform as a whole. The extremely positive reception had a knock-on effect in other areas too. Its success led to deeper ties between Rayburn's team at Playground Games, Turn 10 Studios, and Microsoft, and fast forward to today, Playground Games is one of Xbox Game Studios' leading first-party developers, trusted not just with the Horizon series, but with the forthcoming reboot of the Fable franchise. For the industry as a whole, Forza Horizon injected new life into the open-world racing game genre, offering something uniquely different from the likes of the Need for Speed series, Burnout Paradise, Franchise and Test Drive Unlimited, and would serve to inspire not just future Horizon titles, but the likes of The Crew, future Need for Speed titles, and Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Forza Horizon was edgy, it was fun, and it was unmistakably cool. In fact, it was so edgy that the ESRB rated it T for teen, by far the highest age rating given to any Forza game to date, thanks to, and I quote, references to half-naked women and drug use, and swearing and suggestive material. Imagine seeing that in a Forza Horizon game today. Forza Horizon felt like it really tapped into early 2010s culture, and playing through it again today gave me waves of nostalgia for a very formative part of my upbringing. It's difficult not to look back at it with rose-tinted spectacles, but even looking at it with a fresh set of eyes like we've done here, it's clear that Rayburn and his team delivered on the vision they presented to Turn 10 Studios and then some. Their greatest achievement with Forza Horizon wasn't just making a fantastic open-world racing game, but making one that anyone could pick up and enjoy. Whether it was for the setting, the soundtrack, the spectacle, or something else entirely, you'd be hard-pressed to find a casual gamer that didn't find at least one aspect of the title appealing to them. And once you step in, the game's charm, quality, ease of play, and focus on the fun keeps you coming back for more. That's not to say that Forza Horizon didn't offer something for hardcore Forza Motorsport fans either. Whereas the more arcadey nature of the game stands in stark contrast to the Motorsport series, the open world did offer something new and fresh, and the multiplayer modes in particular provided the perfect relaxed antidote to the serious competitive nature of online circuit racing. Ruffle Waffle described the original Gran Turismo as a game that could be all things for all people, and honestly, it's difficult not to describe the original Forza Horizon in the exact same way. Forza Horizon is far from perfect, but as we're now expecting the 6th entry in the series a whopping 14 years later, it's clear that what it offered resonated with players at the time, and the concepts and ideas it was built on still strike a chord to this day. Looking at reviews of this game from the time, they're overwhelmingly positive as you might expect, even picking up a few perfect scores. There were a few areas of critique, such as a lack of precise handling, the guardrails that prevent true open-world exploration, and the aggressive DLC plan. But all in all, Forza Horizon got its fair share of flowers from both video game and non-video game publications alike. In 2012, Forza Horizon sat at the pinnacle of the racing game genre, but 14 years and 4 sequels later, there's a lot for us to compare it to. So what do people actually think about this game in the current day? A few weeks ago, I put up a poll in my Discord asking my fellow racing game fans to vote on their favourite Forza Horizon game from the 5 entries so far. Here are the results. Even though we got a modest 27 votes in total, the final outcome seems pretty close to the general consensus amongst the player base. I'll be going through this in more detail as we cover each respective game, but all we need to focus on for now is that the original Forza Horizon came in last place with only 7% of the vote. Now, this sample size is incredibly small in the grand scheme of things, but the result is clear. Does this mean that opinion has skewed negatively towards the game in the years since its release? No. As with the Gran Turismo series, where the first entry also got the least votes in Ruffle Waffle's retrospective, what this shows is how much the sequels thoroughly surpassed what the original was able to achieve. The open world, the graphics, the cars, the content, almost every aspect of this game would be improved in later titles, including its direct sequel, although when you look at the series today, it's clear that not every entry was received as well as the last. Despite these improvements, I believe there's real value in choosing to play the original Forza Horizon even today. Its setting, story, and spectacle have a unique charm amongst the other entries in the series, and despite becoming arguably the least popular of these games in the years since, even today you'll struggle to find anyone that doesn't recognise the impact it made and its place in racing game history. Of those that voted for the original Forza Horizon as their favourite, most cited that it was their introduction not just to the Forza Horizon series, but the Forza franchise itself as a key factor. Some also mentioned its more linear progression, bold characters, and straightforward story. I started with the first Forza Horizon game myself, so as mentioned, it's difficult for me to remain completely impartial and objective given my attachment to the game. But even so, would I recommend playing this game today? Well, if you're a fan of the Forza Horizon series, or of open world racing games as a whole, my answer is yes. Despite their various flaws, blemishes, and imperfections, I truly believe that each of the 5 games I'll be covering are still worth playing even now. Yes, even Horizon 5. In my opinion, they all have unique qualities that make me keen to replay them from time to time, and even though the original was surpassed by its sequels in many areas, I do believe that in one particular way, it still stands out. For me, the best reason to play the original Forza Horizon is the same reason Ruffle Waffle gave for playing the first Gran Turismo today: its purity. Forza Horizon is the unadulterated, genuine article of Gavin Rayburn's vision for an open-world Forza game. Left largely to his own devices by Turn 10 and Microsoft, Rayburn had the freedom to build what he thought the game should be, and we were, and still are, all the better for it. It's not perfect, and its sequels do improve upon the game in many areas, but with those improvements come the erosion of the raw energy and passion that made the original so special. It's like the difference between an older car and the newest model. The new car may be flashy and have all the latest mod cons, but the reliability and utilitarianism of the older model has a certain charm. And if you're as invested in analysing this series as I am, getting a taste of that unfiltered Horizon experience is invaluable. Without playing this game, it's impossible to get a complete understanding of what Forza Horizon is, what it's aiming to be, and what its place is in the racing game landscape. So for any fan that hasn't given it a go already, I'd highly recommend that you give it a shot. So where does Forza Horizon rank amongst the other games in the series? Well, for now, it holds the top spot, but can it stay there? The original Forza Horizon was lightning in a bottle. What started out as a risky spin-off would grow to usurp the Forza franchise entirely, turning it into the billion-dollar entity we know today. It will forever be the most influential entry in the series, and perhaps it's the most influential racing game of the 21st century so far. Did you play the first Forza Horizon? What's your favourite memory of the game, and how would you rank it amongst the other Horizon titles? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and hype the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for all the notifications, and if you want to catch me live, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/baffo663. My name is Baffo, and I'll see you next time.